Thanks for joining me. I'm glad you're here. My name is Jerrel. I develop games for a living, and today I would like to take a look at the new Fire Emblem trailer. This was requested of me by a viewer of the channel, and if you would like to make a request, you don't have to do anything special. All you have to do is just leave a comment, and I'll see if I can make time in my schedule to address your request. So I just randomly picked a frame of this trailer to pick as my background here, as I haven't watched the trailer yet. It only launched yesterday, and I landed on this frame just by chance where the Fire Emblem character is holding a gun. Now, I don't know that much about Fire Emblem. I have started playing the older classic titles in the series, and I do know that there aren't guns. So I mean, this kind of brings us back to the joke where, they say like, oh, there's like a ROM hack, like, oh, Mario with a gun. I don't know what's going on here. Let's just shrink on down and take a look at the trailer and see what's up with this gun here. This will be my first time watching the trailer. What we have here is, start with a cutscene. It's a female character holding something in her arms. There appears to be some sort of magic goo that possesses some sinister qualities. A red light indicates a malicious intent. Character with green hair and what appears to be some sort of high collar. These entities appear to have some purple aura about them. I'm not sure if they are of some possessed manner. Okay, so now we get some gameplay. Here's what we're looking for. So this is that's still a cutscene, but this is arrows flying all over the place in engine. So actually, I enjoy archery quite a lot, and I just want to take a look at the way that they're shooting these arrows here. So what's going on? Okay, so the path of travel of those arrows is not correct. What it looks like is going on is the arrows are reaching the apogee of their trajectory and then shooting straight down way too fast. So that's not really how that would look. So the animation department I don't think they really sort of looked at arrow reference material, but it's not really about accuracy. It's about drama. It's about the thrill of the story, For me personally, I would have made the arrow trajectories look a little better. So here we see some ruined statues. I'm not sure if this represents any character that we should be familiar with here. Okay, so I'm not sure who that was, but this character that seems to be of some possessed manner has been struck. So if you take a look at the in-game graphics versus the cutscene uses brute force particle systems, because particle systems do have a rendering cost, right? Anything that's on screen has a rendering cost. When something is pre-rendered, you don't have to worry about your rendering cost, because it can take as long as you need it to make it look as nice as possible. But when you are in engine, you are running gameplay, you must consider your rendering cost, because if you exceed your rendering budget, that is when you get your drop in performance, your frame rate. So we have less of that aura. The particle system, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. There's way less particles. It's using a soft particle, so it can blend into geometry, can fade smoothly into that. But we are more relying on a rim shader. A shader is basically a set of instructions that tells the game engine how a piece of geometry should be rendered, how it should look. And a rim shader is just a shader that includes some instruction on having a rim lighting effect, and we are using that to convey the sense of purple. So if you have a look, just along the outside, along the rim of the geometry, we convey that purple lighting. Often they'll use this in games, for example, like, I don't know, Pokemon, to show a Pokemon powering up. You can programmatically increase the intensity of the rim lighting. You can change the color of the rim lighting. You can achieve a number of great effects with it. It's not that expensive as well, so you can usually fake advanced lighting with rim lighting. It's pretty cheap on the rendering budget. We have a very, very bright character here. The staff has had a bit of a boo-boo, so there are bandages on the staff. Or the spear, actually. The spear's had a boo-boo. Oh, this is like this is a very emo character. He's emo because he's got long hair that's covering one eye and then like a hood If the hair wasn't covering the eye enough, then the hood. So this is what we call a double emo in the industry. Okay. But generally we use white to depict goodness or purity, you know. So they use that to contrast the darker looking characters of this intro. So this is Fire Emblem, Fortune's Weave. Oh, okay, we cut away, and now let's see some gameplay, please. Oh, we have a more cutscene. Okay. Dagda. I don't know if this is something I should recognize because again, I've only just started playing the Fire Emblem series. So I've done an analysis on the previous Fire Emblem. So if you would like to see that, I'll link that in the description here. So let's just have a quick look at this here. So that's like a pre-rendered image that... Okay, and pre-rendered means it's not being rendered in-engine, calculating all the lighting and the geometry. It means it was rendered beforehand and then it's just baked as either a video or an image. So this guy's looking real default with his A pose here. So in general, in the rigging and animating process, you have the T pose where the character looks like that. It just makes it so the arms and legs are accessible for animators or for the riggers to rig up to apply a skeleton into the model, and then the animators to start at a default pose. The T pose is this, where the body forms the shape of a T, and the A pose is where the arms are down like this, and it's just a default pose. And this guy is real A posing right here. He doesn't have a lot going on. It just makes me laugh. So this woman has her hands clasped praying. So let's take a look at the NPC distribution. Now I find this interesting because in the first trailer that we saw for this, we saw a number of instances where one NPC visual was used multiple times in the same spot and it looked a little jarring. That kind of ruins immersion. And we can only create a limited number of NPC models, of unique models, because we have limited time, we have limited budget, and we have to basically reuse assets, right? Like, for example, they'll make this tent, but they'll reuse the model, but they can change the color of the top, they can change the things inside, but it's only logical, because you can't just keep making infinite stuff or your project will never get finished. So when you create your NPCs, you know that you might only have 30 unique NPCs model. You need to put effort to consider, okay, let's make sure that we don't put too many in the same place. Let's space them out and make sure that there's unique NPCs in this one area. And I'm seeing that here, so that they've done a better job here as opposed to the previous trailer where there were duplicate NPCs in one area. So this is looking better. But of course it's going to look better because we are getting farther along in development. So something I've noticed here is a cost-cutting measure in terms of rendering. No, so not cost-cutting, you know, in terms of spending money, but the rendering budget. So the farther away a model is from the camera, the shader itself is simpler. So again, the shader is a set of instructions that tells the game engine how to render a piece of geometry, how it's supposed to look. And so when these characters are closer to the camera, you see you have a really nice outline shader. I'm going to be honest here, I'm a little bit jelly because these outlines look really good. This is a really good outline shader. It's very tough to get it to look this organic, and it looks kind of hand-drawn, you know. There's an organicness to it. But as you can see, these characters, these models have the shader, but that has a rendering cost, right? So if you have too many of these on screen, the frame rate's going to drop. But if you take a look at this character right here, he does not have the outline. And also, if you have a look, they're able to use a bit of... it looks like a little bit of rim lighting. You know, they're catching the light in a more advanced way. You see that there's a nice bright outline to the character. It makes them pop. It looks visually really nice, you know. It is coinciding with the light source up there, but if you have a look at that character, this character, his lighting is much more flat. So what could be happening here, let's see, I do not believe these characters are self-shadow casting, so they are not casting shadows on themselves. That's what this looks like. In general, if you have a game that has less characters on screen, for example, like a Resident Evil or something, characters will self-shadow cast, you know, and it looks really nice. These characters do not self-shadow cast, which means that the shaders has a lower rendering cost. So this character has a much flatter, a simpler shader, and a simpler shader has a less rendering cost, no outline. So it's really important to consider these things as a developer is how do you reduce your rendering cost? And it looks like the limit is right here. Any character that's beyond this distance in reference to the camera will use a simpler shader. You can see his lighting is flatter, but it's cheaper to render. So those are things we consider as developers. The water looks pretty simple. I don't think it's going to be super hyper advanced, but again, this isn't like a Breath of the Wild where we're diving and exploring. So you can use a simpler water shader if that's not the focus of your work. The focus of the work is really everything else, but the water is not that important unless this is like a Fire Emblem Wind Waker, and then it takes place on the high seas, which would be pretty sick. I really like the different lighting scenarios that we see here. So we're seeing a lot of different situations where the lighting looks different. There's like just a midday, we have a sunset. Let's see, it could be, yeah, that feels more like a sunset more than a sunrise, really. Sunrise tends to be a bit paler, Oh, neat little statue here. Okay. But the collar has color to it. Interesting. Okay, these characters are cheering and they're a hootin' and a hollerin'. Okay. Let's see, anything here? You can see on the rocks here. I always wonder what the thought process is for the developers, because it's quite a low resolution on the texture of the rocks there, and that has nothing to do with competence. It has nothing to do with effort. It means that they're trying to load so much into memory. We can only load so much into memory at one time. If you try to load too many things into memory, you start getting memory corruption, you can get crashes, and there's probably like a tons of stuff that needs to happen right now. So you have to make concessions. And this is a point where I think they've used a lower resolution on the rocks because we don't even get that close to the rocks anyway, so, or the sort of cliff wall. It's much more important, you have to prioritize, and it's much more important that things like the environments, like these tiles look good. So these should be high resolution. Those are the things you have to prioritize. Let's see here. So this is interesting to me. I don't think the lighting in this is baked. We're not getting things like shadows from the tableware here. Whether these lights are able to cast shadows, I don't think they are. It could be that the table lighting is baked, but these, you see the tableware is not calculated into the lighting. I'm wondering why. That's interesting. This is also where Okay, the shadows are quite high resolution. The higher resolution your shadows are, the higher performance costs you have. And these look really nice. They have these nice soft edges, so that always has a performance cost as well. Take a look at this scene. I'll just pause here for a second so you can identify for yourself, as I explained, identify which character models here have the advanced shader that has the outline and which character models do not have the outline shader. There we go. You can pause that and I'll carry on. Okay. So this is something we need to consider as well. As geometry becomes oblique towards the camera, sort of flat, have a look at this. You use something called anisotropic filtering, and you have to blend between mipmaps. So a mipmap is the farther something is away from the viewing camera. You use a lower resolution texture, and generally that's an automated process that happens automatically these days, and it's been happening automatically for like 25 years. But you also have to define, the quality of those mipmaps and how to blend between them. There is kind of an unpleasant blurriness here as it's switching to the mipmaps. I personally would take a look at the anisotropic filtering settings because you can really tell where it is transitioning from the higher resolution textures here to the low resolutions, and it gets very blurry and it becomes a muddy mess. And this may come down to the game itself, maybe rendering at a lower resolution internally, and then it's just being, bilinear filtered, upscaled, which isn't upscaling. It's a form of upscaling, but it's not upscaling in the way that we would say what upscaling is these days. And it's a bit blurry, and you don't get any detail there. So that's, for me personally, if I were involved in a project, these are the kind of details that I look for, and I would say, hey, can we get that to look a bit better? Because it looks like mush. And it's not, at the end of the day, it doesn't ruin the quality of the product, but it's things like that that you have to consider and think, how can we make it look a bit better? See, that was pretty nice. You know, like you got really high resolution detailed textures on that statue there. Okay. Okay, so we're taking a look at the hair. I'm seeing how well the hair interacts with the body. So we have physics simulation in the hair, and we put colliders in the hair. And a collider is a hitbox. It's invisible. And in general, we also have to define colliders in the body itself so the hair can react to the body to stop the hair from going through the body. We see that a lot, you know, in the latest Xenogears, did I say Xeno Saga? The Xeno series. We often see hair go through the characters' bodies, you know, and it doesn't necessarily ruin a game, but for me, it takes me out of the experience. And it's very distracting to see hair go through like that because we look at the baseline level of reality when it comes to this, and we sort of accept, okay, this is reality, but then it logically just doesn't make sense for a character's hair to go through their body. You know what I'm saying? So even if you don't actively pick up on it, it does subconsciously really distract from it. This, it seems like the hair is interacting with the body itself. These are not things that we do through keyframe animation. Keyframe animation we have to define manually. You would probably give yourself an aneurysm and a stroke simultaneously if you tried to hand animate all of that stuff. That's why we rely on physics simulation, but we still have to issue all of the definitions and characters to the physics simulation. So we have a green boy. Hold on, so there's this man. We have green boy here with a side swoop. Okay, we have red boy. Okay, well, he's got big shoulders. Okay, we have this man who has more colors. So I want to briefly discuss. I know I'm stopping. There's a gun. There's a gun. Oh, that makes me laugh. So I just want to briefly discuss color complexity and visual density. Generally, the simpler your color palette is, the simpler your character looks, your detailed density, then the less important, the less powerful they look. These characters look like they're kind of like weak fodder characters because their detailed density, like they have detailed density, but their color complexity is very low. You know, or those terms are kind of interchangeable, you know, but having, you know, red, you know, it's quite a soft, dull red. The amount of dynamic contrast in this makes the character look kind of generic. So I don't know if this is like a fodder unit that you can get a bunch of, but the characters, see that this character has more complexity in the color palette here, so the character looks more important. So when you are designing your characters, that is something that you could consider. I've reached 18 minutes and I'm only a couple minutes in the trailer. This is going to be a long video. Okay. So I'll try and get through it a bit faster, but I know I'm just I really enjoy discussing game development and art, so that's why I'm taking so long now. These characters have a bit more detailed density and color complexity, and so they look more important. Like this character looks story important, you know, this character looks story important. This character kind of gives me Alucard vibes. You like that spiky armor though, that sort of rib look or scaly rib. So, okay. I think, are there 4 playable characters to choose from? I think that affects the story. This is your young, adventurous character, so something that we see here. I do not believe that this game is using volumetric lighting, because for a game like Fire Emblem, that's overkill. Volumetric lighting lets us simulate a sense of density and moisture and pollutants in the atmosphere. It makes things look really nice. And it makes things look realistic, but we don't like things because they look realistic. Realistic is not interesting. Realistic is not necessarily good. Being expressive is what is good. Being expressive is what we like. And volumetric lighting has a very high rendering cost, even on newer hardware, you know. So what I see here is sort of just a gradient over the top of the screen. I think we're cheating a little bit here. And in that previous angle, we have distance fog. And this is something we've had for decades. And as things go farther into the distance, it's just a fog. It's very simple, very, very low rendering cost. And what we do is we fade the geometry out into the horizon of the skybox there. And it makes things look organic and expressive. And that's what we like. Again, we don't like things because they look realistic. We like things because they're organic and expressive. Okay, I really like the... Oh, that's interesting. Look, this portrait here, the hair had some physics animation in there. Oh, and that's interesting. Okay. Okay, looks like Daddy's gone to prison. I shall free my father. Okay, that is using... so this is not a 3D model. This is 2D graphical asset that is using puppet transforms, and the puppet transforms are making use of physics simulation. I don't think I've ever noticed that in a game before. So again, it's using puppet transform to move around the 2D assets. I really don't like you can see this sort of, artificiality to it. I really dislike puppet animation. I really, really dislike it. I think it looks really tacky and cheap. But, you know, it's a choice that developers make because it's cheaper and easier than 3D animation, but also we already have the 3D models. So to me, I personally find this really distracting because these art styles don't actually line up. And the fact that I can already see the character's face here and then the character is here as well is very distracting to me. And I wouldn't say this makes the game worse, but for me personally, it's your design philosophy as a developer to just take a step back and look at it. Maybe, they're just accustomed to doing this, right? We've done it for years, let's keep doing it. But it's important to take a step back and go, does this make sense? And if we were to change it, how could we make it better? What can we do to make this better? I wouldn't say that taking this character out makes things better. I'm just saying that for me personally, it makes no sense to have this here and then to have that character, because this character is emoting and animated, and this character is also emoting and animated. It's so distracting, so I'm looking back and forth. And the reason why we had dialogue portraits in the past is because in the past we had 2D graphics and we had characters that were very small on the screen. And even when we had 3D graphics where the characters kind of looked, they were small on the screen. But the reason why we had portraits here is because we wanted to show more detail on the character, more emotion, and we can do that now. We have that. And now it's hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious to me that the dialogue portrait is smaller than the actual graphics that represent the character. So this, to me, I really dislike this. I wouldn't say I hate this, because hatred is something that sticks in your heart and it turns you into a bitter, sad, lonely person, and you've got to let hatred go. But this, I don't like it at all. It's again, if I were working on a team that was doing this, I would say, can we discuss this? Can we look at it and say, does this make sense? And would it look better if we took that out? So this is Dietrich. Dietrich is a sailor. Ooh, look at that sea monster. I do really like the particle effects they use for that beast jumping out of the water. Okay, Dietrich washes ashore. Oh, he's going to get sand all over the armor. So what I like about the armor, this is going to be a long video. I'm going to split this into two because this is a long video. There's a lot to look at here. I really like those particle effects there. So the detail on Dietrich's armor, it shows, look at all the scratching and the imperfections on the specularity in the normal map. So what I'm seeing here on the normal map is a whole lot of bumpiness here, and we see a lot of scratchiness. And those details are defined by the normal map, and the normal map is basically it's a PNG image, and it allows us to define how bumpy something is. We can add bumpiness details to the model. The reason why we don't just keep adding more polygons to a model is that the more polygons a model has, the higher rendering costs it has, but also in terms of manageability, it's much harder to change a model once you put details like that. Whereas if we wanted to change the details on that, all we have to do is change the normal map, the PNG file. It's easy to change that. It's fast, it's easy. So if you want to make your character look interesting, the shortcut is to have asymmetrical details. I really like this flow here where this shoulder spike comes down and then you have more spikes coming up like that. And there's this nice purple trim that adds a bit of visual interest to the character. I think without that purple, it would look pretty boring. But this is a really cool armor. I quite like that. He did a big slash. Ooh, that monster's got spears in him. Oh, this guy's eyeballs are cattywampus. Yeah, that's a very unsettling character. They did a good job making that look unsettling. But again, this is so hilarious to me. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I've already discussed it at length. But these art styles don't really line up at all. And now we have the character on screen in two places for no reason. You know what would make it even better? Take this portrait and then put it inside in a little window here so we could have three. If we're going to do multiple character presentations on screen, then just go all out, baby. So we have depth of field. Do we have some pop in there for a second? Hold on, I just want to take a look. Nice depth of field blurring in the background as well. It's very pleasant. That generally has a pretty high performance cost, believe it or not. I don't know why. Can we please, games industry, can we please fix that so that the performance cost isn't so much? Okay, so we have an empty text box here, and I did notice some jarring pop in. That suddenly pops in like that. I don't, I see, oh, I said I was going to stop talking about it, but I really dislike this, is that the character's emoting in two places. It's visually so sloppy and distracting. I'm going to stop talking about it. I'm not doing that anymore. Okay. Theodora. So she's got, like, fun little, like, I don't know. They kind of look like tambourine jangles as they form armor on her skirt thing. Whoa, that guy's got a schnoz. Schnoz alert. I'm not schnoz shaming anyone, but I'm just saying that guy has a schnoz. Okay. Okay. No, I do quite like the music. We're not, I have it turned down so it's not too loud, but what I'm hearing, I really like, you know, this nice orchestral, but it has a very sort of a Mediterranean, you know, kind of a, you know, like what you would hear in sort of like something with like a Greek battle coliseum sound to it. So there is attention to theming here. That looks sharp, very, very pointy on this elephant type creature here. These characters are very fun looking. I really like the materials here. They look very lived in, right? You have these nice, kind of like a silk with a gold trim. You have these furs here, these leathers, the gold metal, you know, and it gives a sense of organic lived-inness, that these materials are things that exist, you know, in their world. Nice detail on the scratching here, and the trim on the armor. I'm not sure if it's just slightly darker. I think the trim is slightly darker, and it breaks up the color of the material just a little bit. It's quite nice. I like to see that kind of color detail in these characters. Lida. Boy, she has bazooms, doesn't she? Okay, cool gem thing. Oh, wow. You know what? I really like the character work on this. So have a look at this neck piece here. It seems to connect here, and then connect here. And then you have this nice piece, which I think might connect down to these tassels. I really like the detail work on these characters. Very interesting geometry on the jewelry. Very cool. Lida. Oh, she's the musical character. Okay. I said I was going to stop talking about this. I'm going to stop talking about it, but I'm just saying, you know, I would have had that discussion early on in development, because that would have taken, it takes a lot of time to develop that kind of thing and then to implement it and then to keep scaling as you have more and more characters. You could save your team a lot of development time by just looking at that early on and saying, we don't need that. Okay, I said I was going to be done talking about that. Now, there's something here that's a little bit incongruous here, in that they're using shaders that the lighting looks physically based, and this sort of reflectivity here doesn't match the other elements of the character. Like, the character has a very, like, it's a stylized, you know, like an anime kind of a look to it, like a hand-painted look. And then you have this sort of leather here is a bit too physically based, shiny, like a very generic Unreal rocks, Unreal wet rocks, you know what I mean? Or Unity wet rocks is how I'll call that. And that's the kind of thing where I would look at that and it's important to take a step back and go, okay, maybe we need to just adjust that, because that doesn't, I got to get myself out of the way here. Hold on here. Have a look at the belt here. Just doesn't match. It doesn't, it's, yeah, it doesn't, it's not congruous with the rest of the character and the style, you know. And the metal works because it's still stylized, it looks quite good, but this really looks like Unity wet rocks. Wow. I am going through this trailer very slowly. I'll try to get halfway through it. Okay, we'll just let it play now. Okay, I'll let it play. So I quite like the colors on those characters. The environments are pretty interesting. I'm interested in seeing some gameplay now. I'm not going to pause it. That's against everything I'm thinking. Okay, that's a cool instrument, implement with these kind of energy beams. Okay. Okay. Kind of like the guy's pompadour is kind of neat. Okay, so I am going to pause it. I said I wasn't going to pause it. But this is something to consider when you are composing a scene here, is how do you break the line? Just a simple flat line is the most boring thing to look at, but they are actually breaking it up here. So say, for example, have a look at the foreground. We have just a bit of rock here that breaks up a visible line. If all you had was a horizon that was just white, ground and then black sky or black ground and white sky, and it was a flat line, it would be so boring to look at. So you have to find a way to break the line. We've broken the line here with these little rocks, but also have a look at the ground details here. The coloring here breaks up that line a little bit. Have a look at those there. And then you have these rocks here that also break up the line a little bit. And there is roundness to this scene as well. So as we go higher up, you see it sort of breaks the line here as it's rounded now. Those are things that you have to consider when you are composing a scene and you don't want it to look boring. I'm going to let it play because I'm taking a very, very close look at everything and taking a little too long.
I'm sorry. Failure is not an option for me either.
Okay.
But that's only because I don't have any
Okay. Fellas, we know what we're doing here, right? That there's no reason for this cloak to be exposed here. But her bazoom is visible, and we have like bright color here to draw attention to it. And then we had like a bazoom window. You gotta appeal to the male audience or whatever audience is interested in the bazoom window. I'm saying that it's not necessary. I'm not trying to say, oh, put a Bible in between you. You can't hug when you're dancing. I'm just pointing it out that I think it's funny. I think it's funny that that's obviously by intention, Hey, and there's nothing wrong with characters having some sex appeal, right? Hey, we're humans, aren't we? Okay, here we go. Now we take a look at some gameplay here. Okay, we have a grid. Okay, let's see what we're looking at here. I'm seeing purple, red, blue, green. You have your character here. It's like, this is what the portraits should be used for, right? You need to have your character, you need to show the character so we can see more detail and emotion, more expressiveness on the character. I said I wasn't going to pause, wasn't I? So that's what portraits are for, when the character is small on the screen and you need to show more detail on that character. Let the battle commence. Okay. The blue is the movement range, okay. Very clear. It's very clear. Despite the detail in the environment, you have your obstacles, such as these rocks. Okay. I do like the smooth transition from the map to the sort of battle sequence. I do like that. Defeat Bendis. What I like about the particle effects is they help the impact of the attacks feel powerful. They aren't literally saying, oh, the spear did a slash. Have a look at the impacts. It's not literally saying that, but it's helped selling that this is powerful. I did see the sword clip through the cape, so let's have a look here. Have a look here. You see the sword clips through the cape. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying these are the things that we have to actively look out for. And if we wanted to do that, you would have to add a collider to the sword, but weapons can change, right? So what I would do is add a collider to the back of the character's hand, not the sword, because the sword can change out. He can equip, whatever sword, and the graphics have to change. So me personally, if I was developing this, I would put an invisible collider on the back of the character's hand that would serve as a generic collider for any weapon that character is holding, just so that the cape's physics simulation can respond to that, because there are already colliders in the body. For example, the hands and the arms would have physics colliders in them so that the cape can respond to that. So all you would have to do is add another invisible collider to the hand here, and then that would prevent this issue from occurring, because the cape would then respond to that accordingly. I said I wasn't going to pause, but we sometimes have to point things out that by pausing. Cool knuckle weapons. Those are pretty sick. Oh, this character looks cool. Who's this? Spears. Okay, what about the guns, though? And my axe. See, look at the great impact on that. I really like the particle effects and this fantastic impact. Look at this. Character's going to come back here and it starts from back there and it goes there, and it really helps sell the impact. Really cool. I really enjoy that. They did a great work on the particle effects. Ooh, yeah, you know, and I really like the different levels, the use of elevation. It's something that I don't think we've seen that much in Fire Emblem games before, but this one really makes use of difference in elevations to make scenes look interesting. That guy got roasted hard. I like the particle effects on the scene there. We get some screen door transition on the grass. It's very telling here. See how there's an... Oh, hold on. There... Okay. It's hard to say. I'm trying to determine the level of screen door transparency on this. If there is some uniformity in here, but we're not using transparent textures on that because transparency actually has a pretty high performance cost, and it's much cheaper in terms of performance cost to use a screen door transparency. And screen door just starts introducing holes, basically. It starts pixel-sized holes, and it's much cheaper. She's got a tiny dagger, but it casts lightning. There's a gun! She got a gun! She got a gun! She's got a gun! Oh, I really like that particle effect. That was sick. It goes so fast. Let's just watch it again. That was cool. Okay, sorry, I hate to tell you this, but lightning dagger is not interesting when someone has a gun in Fire Emblem. Look at that particle effect. Oh yeah, it conveys a sense that there is something moving fast out of that hitting the target. And that's not something that you can convey through swords, you know, and arrows, sure, yeah. But we all understand like a bullet is faster than an arrow, you know, and the character has to do, you know, their animation for that. But this is such an interesting addition. It's so interesting. Positioning is a key element. Okay. The enemy has attack range. Sure. Oh, he's riding a big ostrich bird. Or some kind of creature. Like an emu or a cassowary. Okay, he's got a little short bow there. Now, I'm gonna grade his performance on archery here. They might counterattack. Let's have a look at this character shooting the bow. You know what? That wasn't the worst. Usually what we'll see is a flourish where a character does like a big woo up in the air and their hands go all over. But that character's follow-through actually went straight back. So this, I actually am going to rate this pretty good. Also, the follow-through on the bow, have a look at where the bow is pointed after he has released the arrow. This is good follow-through on the bow hand because the bow is still pointed towards the target. Usually what we see in video games is they'll shoot it and then they'll do this hand goes up here and the bow hand goes like that. It looks cool, right? Because you're seeing something big. We just want to see cool, big things happen, right? We like things that are big. We like when big, cool things happen. Look, I was just watching Daredevil Born Again Season 2, and every time they stopped the plot to just talk, I kept shouting at the TV. I was saying, do something, just do something. I just wanted to see Bullseye do something. Where's Bullseye? Make Bullseye do something. And so that's why we like big things, you know, big things happening all over the place. But this is really good archery form. It's good attention to detail. I can respect that. I really like that. Oh, yeah, and look, and the character immediately went to draw another arrow from the quiver. Well done, well done. That's a nice, smooth, fluid animation and movement on that. I can respect it. I'm going to give that like a 10 out of 10 because that's one of the best archery animations I've seen in a game. Normally, they kind of irritate me and then just turn a blind eye to it. But I would rate most archery animations 1 out of 10 in games. But that's going to be a 10 out of 10 for me. We also, if you notice, there is a freeze frame on impact to show you when the impact happens, and it just helps helps the hit look powerful and feel powerful. The screen shakes as well, you know. So those are the kind of things that I like to see that just make attacks feel awesome. Okay, but not every game can do that, right? Depends on the game, because there are certain games that are fast moving, and there's more things happening on screen, and there are certain games where if you have freeze frames like that and big flashy things, it becomes really, really distracting and it ruins the flow. You have to consider the flow. Let's look at this character's archery. So she is shooting in a style where the arrow is on the other side of the bow, but still with a Mediterranean grip. This is kind of wrong. Usually when you shoot on the other side, on the inverted side, you would have a grip where it is the thumb, like that. Otherwise, you would be shooting on the other side of the bow, and that's what the Mediterranean grip is for. That's not really how we would shoot. Traditionally, I'm not sure which, historically. Oh no, the way that she shot that bow, I think is going to be a 1 out of 10 for me. Everything about it is not good. Ursula, what are you doing? Let's have a look. It's probably because it's a skill, and they want the skill to look different and more powerful. I think that's what it is. It's called Deadeye. But look, the arrow, I think that maybe that's the arrow here, but her follow-through, look at the follow-through on the bow. The bow is already kicked way off to the side, and then her hand that she shot with is way somewhere else, and now she's leaning forward like that. So she shot the bow, and she's leaning forward like this. There's no reason. You need to keep your body straight as you release the arrow. Otherwise, you can end up pushing the arrow off its trajectory. This was a skill, so I think they're trying to make the skill look more powerful. And it's hard. It's so hard when you're animating for archery, because how do you make a bow shot look more powerful? There's not that many different ways to shoot a bow. When it comes to a spear or a sword, there's so many things you can do. But with a bow, there's not that many things you can do. I personally would have done something else to make it look more powerful, like more particle effects, or a different pose that had more... Yeah, I think I'm complaining about stuff that's super... Nobody cares. I'm complaining about stuff that nobody cares, but you know what? Archery is something that I really enjoy. This character has a musical instrument. That is very cool to me. I think I would like to play that character. Consume your soul. I'm going to leave my soul where it is, thank you. It's being consumed enough by the darkness of the world as it is. Hey, he shot out some magic. If we take a look here, we see some screen door transparency on that. Interesting. We see health, I think, on this bit here. Neato. Oh, I like the area of effect. I do like that. I like it very much. That he took out all those dudes at that area of effect. Okay. Moving shadow. Is he gonna teleport? Oh, that's a good ability. That's really good. Okay, she got Blaze Arts. Ooh, wow, she totally rendered the earth just then. What a neat, the shaders on those nylon strings are colored in an interesting way. Wait, did she summon a monster? Oh, I want to play this character. I want the summoner character. Whoa, that is sick. That's sick. Oh yeah, I want the summoner character. So the reason, take a look at this character. I want to explain this. I need to end the video soon and split it into a second half. Take a look at the character here, and you'll see that the character, her clothing, her dress clips into the ground. The reason why it clips into the ground is because we did not define a collider on the ground to interact with the dress. And the reason why we don't do that, basically no one would do that. And the reason why is because if you do that, the rendering, the processing for that, the cost, not the rendering cost, the processing cost for that dress goes up a huge amount, because it's checking for things outside of the character, outside of this other stuff. And then you have to check for other things in the environment, and then the processing cost on that starts to skyrocket, and then you have to draw a line at what point do we stop, because now any character that has a dress now has to also check. And it's not just a flat plane, have a look at, there's other areas here, which means it's not just a flat plane. You have to check now more complex geometry for colliders, and then your processing budget, that's going to use up a ton of it. It's really going to negatively affect the frame rate if you have multiple characters that have to do that. And it's happening every frame. If you had like an absurdly powerful computer, sure, yeah, do it, but it's not scalable. So that's why the clothes will clip into that. If we can work out a solution in the industry where we can have more efficient collision checking, more efficient visual effects processing, please, can we do that? Whatever we're focusing on right now, like more polygons, is full of, pardon my French here, it's full of shit. Stop trying to shove polygons. It doesn't make things better. There are things that we need to be more efficient in the games industry, and it seems like nobody cares. Nobody's talking about it. I'm you can see me getting kind of heated because there are things that should be much better in a development environment and in the industry, but they're not. They're not so. Okay, so what is this? Okay, there's different classes. Do the characters' clothes change for the class? I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm here. I'm here already. I'm here. I'm here. I like it. Oh yeah, look at my stats. Yeah, the reason why I like RPGs so much, I like numbers and I like stats. I like my characters changing jobs. This is cool. So this is the same character. This is Kai, or is that his name? He changes his clothes, but what I really like about this is that he maintains a consistent visual identity. He has his color palette. Color palette's the easiest way to do that, but we have yellow is reserved for the gold and the blue cloth, and we have white as a secondary color. See, you have white in there, the white there. So this is such strong character work, really fantastic that there's class system, weapons they can wield. I'm so here, dude. I'm really here. Yeah, I'm absolutely here for this. I'm gonna say, like, you know, it's cool. It's a game, but oh, look at the adorable sprite art. This hit me right in my nostalgia kidneys. I really, really adore this. I mean, they kind of look like Atari Lynx sprites, really. You know, that sort of color palette, or Game Boy Advance colors. You know, my nostalgia kidney. Oh. You can see. So have a look. Earlier we were discussing detailed density and color complexity or visual complexity. Have a look at these. Does this, have a look at the color complexity here and compare it to this one. Does this character look more powerful than this one? This one has more colors. These characters have more detail. However, this one's supposed to be advanced, but I mean the detail density and color complexity make it look like it should be, you know, sort of in this area. But yeah, these characters have simpler colors. There's kind of less visual detail, but then you compare it, you know, to this guy, you know, which one looks more powerful to you, this guy or this guy? And the reason why this looks more powerful is because there's more detailed density, there's more visual complexity, more color complexity. Okay? I'm almost halfway through the video. Oh man, there's so much to look at here. I hope you're a Fire Emblem fan because this is a deep dive. I wasn't expecting this episode to last this long, so I will split it into two. There will be a second episode. All right. Orneus Rider. Isn't Orneus the bird? Take a look at this cool guy. Look at his cool shield. This is funny. You know, like you have this metal here. Oh yeah, tough metal. And I guess it's wood. So wood is weaker than metal, so I guess aim for the wood part. But these are cool details, you know, all the there's internal logic, like stuff's connected to each other through chains, you know, things are layered in a way that looks interesting, and there's internal logic. He's got his lucky rabbit's foot or whatever that thing is there, you know. Let's see. Cool winged horse guy. This guy's on a chariot. That's kind of cheating a little bit, isn't it? He's holding his bow horizontally because he's sort of in the chariot there. You got to be careful not to hit your horse, though. I said I wasn't going to pause. There's so much cool stuff to look at. Oh, I really like the animation. Oh, this guy has reserved movement to convey the sense that he's slower and bulky. And we often don't see detail like that. You know, we see characters just moving cattywampus. And I'm not saying that, you know, a Fat Bob in Tekken is bad, but Fat Bob moves way too fast and he doesn't look bulky. But that's the joke. That's the joke, because he's still a really good fighter, even though he's Fat Bob. And then he becomes Slim Bob, or whatever. Whoa, he has a bone chicken. That looks like Fright Rider from Skylanders. That's one of my favorite Skylanders. So there's a lot of animals to ride? Is that what I'm seeing here? This looks so cool, man. This guy's riding a wyvern. So it says Dragoon. That's cool. But he's not riding a dragon, he's riding a wyvern, so it'd be a wyvoon. Let me just get out of the way here. You see how it says Dragoon here? But he's not riding a dragon? And a dragoon doesn't necessarily mean you ride a dragon, you know, I'm just saying it should be called a wyvoon if you're riding a wyvern. That's all I'm saying here. That's my political stance. Wyvern riders should be wyvoons. Okay. Oh, begin free time. Is this like a persona? Like you have a little bit of free time to do stuff to like, like isekai your way through this world? This is cool. This is cool. You get to explore. Oh man, I'm already here. I am so here for this game. I have to put a pin in this episode. I'll do the back half of this, or the end half, in another episode. So please let me know if you enjoy this and if you would like me to, because that's going to take a lot of time and effort to do a second episode of this. If this video does well enough in views, I'll do a second episode. Let me know if this hits like 10,000. Yeah, if this hits 10,000 views, I will do the second episode. So if you want me to do a second episode, share the video, tell people that I'm discussing things way too much detail and focusing on stuff that super doesn't matter, but it's just interesting to me as a game developer. If you're interested in my work, one of my games is on sale. Oh, actually, a bunch of my games are on sale on the eShop right now. My latest game is The Hero of Destiny Was Killed by the Final Boss, and that's an action RPG where the main character gets killed and you have to build a party out of NPCs that have no magic, no special skills, but you can have up to 8 NPCs, and basically you're puzzle solving your way through the final dungeon. Every enemy can kill you almost instantly, so you're basically using niche abilities to try and cheese your way through the final dungeon. But you can level up your characters, you can customize equipment, you can build teams and experiment with different team setups, and there's a battle dungeon, as a battle coliseum as well, for you to really enjoy the battle system when you're done defeating the final boss. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me, and hope you take care, be well, and let me know if you enjoyed this and you want to see episode 2. All right, I'll see you around.